For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to episode 18 of That's a Shame. Welcome back, I'm Isaac, and joining me as always from his attic of mysteries.
Thanks for making me sound like a serial killer. It's Declan.
How are you, Declan?
I'm not bad, actually.
How's the attic?
Filled with lots of friends of mine.
Skins.
All of them bound. All of them here, mostly consensually.
Oh well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm also doing all right. I've kept meaning to mention in the last maybe 3 or 4 episodes that I've got a lot of hay fever going on. So sorry if I sniff. I have been editing most of it out, and sorry if I sound like underwater kind of vibe. With that admin out of the way, let's power on to what I know is going to be one of the great episodes of our lives, I think.
Yeah.
Well, 17 has been well received on the whole. My girlfriend said it's the first episode she's listened to. And this, bear in mind, as I say, this is a fan of the show, self-professed, and not just a fan because she has to be, she says. Or then maybe she has to say that as well, so I guess it's hard to tell. But episode 17, first one she's listened to without zoning out at any point. So there you go. And I was like, oh, well, that's it's not necessarily a compliment.
No.
But she was like, no, but you know when you're just on the bus and like maybe you see something outside, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. We're boring. Fine. Let's leave it there.
And by leave it there,
But, yeah.
I mean our relationship.
Thrown to the curb. That's the end.
Oh, well, that is good, like you say, in a sense, feedback.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of episode 18. I thought it was a
17.
strong one. 17.
This is 18.
I'm sure I will be a fan of 18.
Oh, you're going to love it, let me tell you. One more bit of admin before we proceed is that I keep meaning to give more props than I do to our music in the show because I think it's great. We happened upon it quite by accident, our Bare Necessities cover. And it's good, isn't it?
I love it.
Yeah, I think it works really well.
It's something that we spoke about sort of even reasonably early on, like 4 or 5 episodes in, which is that for something that was cobbled together in our trademark haphazard last minute way, with name and music choice, artwork, all coming either just before, during, or just after the first episode. I couldn't imagine it being any other way.
No, it's pretty solid. So I wanted to give a little hand to my pal Jacob, he was the leader of the band that plays it, which was Oxford University Jazz Orchestra. So if you go to shame.city/music, it will take you to his Bandcamp page. He's like a extremely good jazz pianist, so you can download his stuff for free or chuck him some pennies. Why not? That's nice of me, isn't it?
That is nice, especially given that when you first introduced a bit of music, you said it's their fault for putting it online for free. Fuck them.
Look, I'm a complicated guy, and it can go both ways. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
You see, this is one of the things I was thinking about the other day, which is that, like, as our listeners probably won't know, Isaac edits the episodes together. And I listen back through, and I
You made it sound like I edit them all into one long episode, and then just listen to it
20-hour. It's like Infinite Jest, but a podcast.
It's the only way I can relax.
No, he edits each episode, and I then listen back through and give notes, as it were, which is normally great, or we swore here. We used this particular racial slur.
No, we said we said someone's name that we need to edit out,
and then Isaac goes back and does that, and then occasionally we'll retroactively need to change a much earlier episode from weeks ago, and Isaac sort of goes back through and replaces it in the feed. And I was thinking, like, the other day that if we ever had a falling out, you could go back and edit every single episode to make me look like the biggest prick of all time.
Wow, yeah, I could just edit myself out and just have it as like your stream of consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're just berating hotel managers. Who else have you attacked? All of stand-up comedy.
True crime as an idea. The poor.
I stand behind that. No, I don't stand behind that.
But yeah, you could literally just go back through, or you could, try and gaslight me and just edit
That is a lot of
out
power.
things that I'm sure that I remembered happening. You'd be like, no, go back and listen. It's not there.
I might just keep updating my bits of the episode to like new material so that I just sound like really up to date and prescient. Like I'll go back to episode like the one before the general election and just add in like an exact prediction of what's going to happen. I see it actually as a hung parliament sitch. The DUP are going to be on board within days. Count me in on that.
Yeah. What probably cost the government $1 billion or something, but they'll
Yeah.
they'll pop it out there.
They'll bend over for that one. Yes, I hadn't thought of that. That is something. So what I'm thinking is we should maybe retroactively edit in Easter eggs and things down the line. Maybe one day we do a big competition that involves listening to old episodes. But not today. Because that's a fucking lot of
That's
effort.
a lot of effort. Yeah, that's not our style.
It isn't at all. So, episode 18, I mentioned to you the theme I had loosely to talk about before the show. It's less that I have anything to say about it in particular. Good sign for a podcast.
Yep.
And more just that I've been thinking about it. And episode 18, right? 18, our podcast is now an adult, okay?
Right.
It can vote. It could join the military. It can do all manner of things. It can probably buy fireworks in many countries. It could drink in the UK. It would have to wait for a few more years in less civilized countries. But, you know, be that as it may, it has crossed the threshold into maturity.
Mm-hmm.
In a similar way, we're recording this on the 1st of July. The final nail in the coffin there of not giving out the date, which we haven't mentioned for a while, but it's completely gone as a concept.
It is 14:33, 1st of July, 2017.
It's exactly 5 months till my birthday. And in my next birthday...
That's not a milestone.
No, it is, all right. Well, it's a bit of a milestone because, I mean, it's just made me think about birthdays, which I find depressing to begin with, but also particularly depressing because my next one I turned 25.
That's a quarter of a century.
Yeah, it's mid-20s, definitively, because my girlfriend, again, has been teasing me for a while about the fact that 24, which I am now, of course, as our mathsy listeners will have worked out, is already in the mid-20s bracket. She's like 20 to 23, early 20s, 24, 25, 26 is mid, and then above 26, you're late 20s.
Yeah.
Like, might as well be 30,
Yeah.
might as well be 40, might as well be dead.
Yeah.
That's the spirit.
Life is definitively over.
And I'm not self-conscious about age in the sense that it's like a number. Like I don't really care about it. It's just like that's a quarter of your life, generously.
Yeah.
That is now under your belt. And the third reason, because I said there were 3 things that have got me thinking about aging. The third is that it was my grandma's 91st birthday the other day, the 26th of June, I think, last Monday.
That's impressive.
And I just thought, that is so old. What is going on? How do you live for that long? At the same time, I don't know, like there's a duality to it because on the one hand, it just seems unfathomably old. But on the other, 24 years, that's just gone by quite quickly.
Yeah.
Depressing is
Well,
my takeaway.
I think it's potentially a factor of when you're very young, you don't really remember much from your first few years. And obviously, that time that you're still coming to grips with the world and time and aging.
Yeah.
I think that it makes it seem perhaps that it's gone by quicker than it might have done. Then again, that's maybe a very optimistic way of saying, please don't let this be it.
People say as well that it just like speeds up the older you get.
Yeah.
And that you like blink and then your children are in university. And I don't even have children at the moment, so that would be
blink and you will.
Quite the alarm.
Well,
I'd remember... No, go on.
You have always struck me as someone who was more aware of their own mortality than most people.
Yeah, I really hate it.
You don't like to see anyone on your birthday. You're like a sort of David Lynch character. You just sort of, on your birthday, all communications shut down. And
Yeah.
Isaac just sort of sits in a room.
It's the one day of the year that I actively don't have my phone on me for the whole day.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to... I don't want to deal with it. It being anyone in my life.
Anyone, anything, any intrusion. But also, at the same time, you've struck me as someone who does their utmost to deny their own mortality.
Oh, certainly.
In that you have a very naively, optimistic certainty that
Accurate and scientifically backed.
that you will never die because you will be a robot. And there's no part of you that even thinks to dare to entertain the notion that maybe that technology won't be quite up to scratch.
I tell you what, if it's not ready, I'm going to kick the fuck off. If I can't upload my consciousness into the cloud.
No, but think about it, because it may well be, but it's probably going to be an early iteration where it's really shit.
I'm not being like some Pong version of
exactly.
fucking
You're like
immortality.
the Windows 95 of consciousness. You're
You
like,
can live forever, but you only get 1 sense.
yeah.
That's right, it's smell.
You've the most useless of all the senses.
And also, painfully, the one that's best at evoking memories that you'll no longer be able to share or act upon. You're just stuck there forever remembering summer's days in your youth.
Well, you're only able to access like 3 emotions.
And you have to pay like an extra premium.
Oh yeah, God, it's going to be like pay to win.
It's in a kind of robo Bitcoin futuristic currency that you can't earn as just a memory in a machine.
No,
I'm, I wouldn't say I'm 100% sure, but I'm increasingly, I guess maybe it is fueled ultimately by a kind of desperation.
yeah,
It just fucks me off though, the idea. It's less about like, I don't know, I don't feel a lot of remorse for the fact that I'll no longer be in the world. I'm just really angry about it. It just feels really unfair.
Yeah.
And shit.
that you're just going to sort of miss a load.
Yeah, because I bet it gets really good around 2500. I think it's going to be a solid year if we can avoid nuclear war until then.
Yeah, and
I think we're gonna
environmental
have-
collapse.
Yeah, we're going to have all manner of robot pals going to space a bit, maybe. Might meet an alien. I haven't researched it a lot, I'll be honest. These are all just kind of... I'm just putting it out there, see what happens.
This is like when you look back at old episodes of Tomorrow's World, and they're like, by the year 1999, you will have a robotic housemaid, and it's some Lego fucking cube that just rolls around with a Hoover, like clearly just a box that someone's sort of pushing about the place.
Yeah.
You get to 2017, and you're like, well, we've got USB. That's quite good.
USB-C, I think you'll find.
Oh.
3.5 times faster or something. It's really odd, the priorities that shows like Tomorrow's World and sci-fi, like old Star Trek, which I've not seen much of. Like, they seem to think that some things we'd have down completely, but then the idea of like an iPhone or just having like the wealth of human knowledge in your pocket seemed to never cross the mind of Tomorrow's World.
No.
But they were fucking certain that we'd be marrying robots by about 20 years ago and floating around in cars. Neither of these things have happened.
I think my favourite of the kind of ludicrous predictions is the Millennium Bug.
Y2K.
I think it might be one of the most technologically shameful moments of human history. There's
just the hysteria of it.
There's incredible footage of, like, Channel 4 did a whole night. It was Jon Snow, I think, in a studio, and they're like their predictions as it came up to midnight. You know, I think remembering that like Jules Holland's Hootenanny was probably on BBC Two, and Jon Snow's standing in front of essentially the prototype for the swingometer, going like, "We're ready for anything coming in," and just hour after hour goes by and nothing happened.
I imagine having to present that news show where literally no problems arose.
There was like,
What was their content?
I think there was one cash machine in a Woolworths somewhere that printed out incorrect receipts, and they were like, "Well, devastating."
Gosh, that's the year 2000 for you guys.
Woolworths was
It's going to
there.
ruin stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot about Woolworths. That was a good place to steal pick and mix from
Yeah,
in your youth.
it's the least surprised I've ever been by a company going
Shutting
under.
down.
Like, it was,
The problem was they sold everything and yet nothing.
they sold everything, but which I mean they made it easier than any other shop for you to take anything you wanted. I remember that the one in Southend High Street had front doors and side doors, but the side doors weren't in any way managed. They had a security guard at the front, and the big towers that sense if you're stealing stuff. But you just walk out the back.
That does seem like a missed opportunity there for not theft. Bless them. I want to get your opinion then on, the 25 gate and general ageing things. So my approach is very much one based in absolute unbridled
Despair.
terror and despair. Just the fact that at some point you're going to have to, because I think we forget this, maybe, I don't know if it's too easily or if it's a good part of evolution that we don't dwell on it as often as I do. Just the fact that every few days I just see something like, for example, the other day I came downstairs and at the bottom of the stairs was, I have 2 cats, and at the bottom of the stairs lay a dead mouse of kind of medium mouse proportions in a sort of rainbow position. It was kind of curled round. And then above it, like some sick Tracy Emin, Damien Hirst artwork, was the largest dead rat I've ever seen. And as anyone who has cats or has committed murder will know, you have to dispose of these bodies from your house. And normally when it's a mouse or like a small bird, it's still distressing because I like those creatures, and it's still distressing to have to put your hand like backwards through a plastic bag, pick it up, fold the bag in on itself, tie it up, and then hammer throw it out into the sea.
It's just the indignity of the fact that it's the exact same process you use for picking up dog shit.
Yeah, it feels like you're desecrating something special. And so, but normally, like, I've got used to having to do that, having owned cats for like most of my life. It's part and parcel of having carnivore predator animals in your house.
Yeah.
But I've never had to deal with anything the size of this rat and picking it up through a bag. Like rats, in a way that birds and mice aren't, because they're kind of, birds feel like hollow little dreams of an animal. There's nothing to them. Picking up that rat was like burying a child. I felt like it was substantial and corporeal, and it made me feel so unclean. I had to have a shower afterwards. It was at like 4 a.m. as well, so there was no one outside, and it was just the seediest thing I've ever done that was legal, as I just like folded it in on itself, and the dull thud as it landed at the bottom of the bin. No. Horrible experience. So yeah, it can be something as harrowing as that, or just like, I don't know, I saw a bee that was, how we're supposed to look out for bees nowadays.
Is this another thing you haven't looked into that much?
No, but I'm always getting these messages about, well, we've mentioned before change.org, never stopping talking about bees.
Debbie Harry's saving the bees as well.
Yeah, everyone's having a pop. And if you keep getting these messages, don't you? If you see a bee that's tired, you have to give it a bit of sugar water.
What do you mean by you keep getting these messages?
You're not getting these texts?
Who's texting you? Unknown,
I don't know, actually.
Blocked number.
Hi Isaac, just a quick update on the bee stitch. It's sugar water now. Yeah, you're supposed to, just perk them back up, because they sometimes, in that beautifully naive way that the animal kingdom has, they sometimes get too involved in nectar and spend too much energy getting it, only to find that they don't have enough to take them back to their hive. So you see them like crawling around like on the pavement, and you're supposed to pick them up and put them on a little leaf or something so where they can chill out and not be stomped on. Anyway, I saw one dead on a pavement is where I'm going. It was all flat, like it had been pressed into, that hobby old people have where they press flowers.
Yeah.
Which I also find quite depressing. But we'll leave that. Anyway, anything like that can trigger in me the realisation that one day all of us will have to subjectively, in our first person little heads that we live in, experience death. That's so horrible.
It's a bold topic for ostensibly a comedy podcast.
Look, we're going to find the light side.
I think it's more...
That's right, there is not one.
I think it's more that there will come a time where you have to reconcile yourself with the fact that probably most of your life is gone. I think that's probably worse than than the actual process itself. Is
Where
sort
you're
of-
over the
when
hill.
when you get to, when you're 45, you can still be like, oh, I could live to 100. But when you get to 60, you're not going, I could live to 100 and 120, sure, easy. I could do all this again. My body's ready for that. I can't get out of a seat without going, ugh. But I'm sure that another 60 years of this existence is still in me.
Cards.
Yeah. And so you have to go probably less left than I have already experienced.
Even now, though, every day I wake up, I'm still like, that's good. I still think it's like, I don't really go to sleep expecting necessarily to wake up the next day.
Is
that normal?
Just a vague hope. Whenever I stay at Isaac's, he's got a little button next to the bed, and whenever he regains consciousness, he presses it, and it plays a little fanfare. There's a little trumpet.
I'm back.
There's confetti that sort of falls from his poster bed.
Well, it's nice though, because it makes you a bit more grateful about each day. Because days are a really long time. It's just years that go by so quickly. Like, how's it July already? What have we done this year?
Are you writing a really shit country song? It's the days that go by, but the years
go
that
by,
pass
but
so
the years
quickly. Well, I mean,
that's
we've
funny.
set up a podcast this year.
Yeah, but how long did it really take? 20 hours of content.
It's
All of it. Shit. I'm joking. This show is the best.
episode 3.5, still on no download.
That's the one. Overlooked. Overlooked and underappreciated. I'll be
listen-
renaming that one.
Look, I listened back to it yesterday myself on 3 times speed, and I tell you what, it was fucking great. that ending you made that no one's heard.
Oh, yeah. Is that the one where I put all that effort into a lovely ending?
That's the one.
Fuck you guys for not listening. I feel very undervalued.
I love
you,
episode
really.
3. Oh, let's go to the theme park.
Yeah,
They've
can't
got
get
no
enough of
time.
that.
No time.
Derivative
for
episode 3.
your derivative
boring,
only
I'd say.
3 in. We're already falling into the cliches.
We had second album syndrome within one episode. It was really, really quite tragic. Aging as well can be applied. We could apply the trajectory of aging in a human sense to what's going to happen to this show. So do you think at some point, like, we're still in our kind of teenage exuberance now? I mean, I don't feel like we are, to be fair.
We spent this episode talking about reconciling ourselves with our own impending deaths.
But at some point, do you think it will just become like, hi guys, this is episode 304. I mean, what's left to say? The world's still shit.
Do you know what's,
Global warming means that my brain's on fire.
Do you know what's the big shame? This show.
Once it began, like our remit initially was to expose shame elsewhere, now we just have to turn the mirror inwards to focus on the greatest shame of all.
I mean, I think that it
Hypocrisy.
It would probably be more insidious than that. A bit like life, that it sort of slips past, and you just recognise that, we're not both really turning up for episodes. I mean, we're there, we're talking, but one of us is
But our minds are elsewhere.
one of us is just quite clearly watching TV in the background.
Thinking about like the withering away of everything that we love in the world.
Yeah, and we start to bicker more. It all becomes very, very personal.
The theme music gets turned down a few octaves, so it's just like a slow moan.
And then it's eventually sort of transposed into minor.
It's just mumbling.
Yeah, and then
Necessity.
like that bit in Too Many Cooks, which is
Oh God, that's the horriblest thing of all.
yeah.
What a great bit of art.
I mean, I hope that it doesn't come to that. I think that we'd either have the good grace to call it a day before anything like that could happen.
Shoot ourselves.
Imagine that, like a proper, suicide pact episode. We don't even.
Wouldn't it be a pathetic way, because like there have been a few instances of people, politicians and newsreaders mostly, killing themselves on air.
Yeah.
Wouldn't podcasting be the least effective medium to convey that? You'd be like, right, I'm going out with a bang, guys.
Just realising that there's no one to upload it.
Even if you live streamed it, you'd have like 4 viewers.
Yeah.
And they'd probably be spamming like Twitch emotes.
Spamming Kappa in the chat.
Horrible nonsense.
It'd be like that bit in Stan, the song, where he records the final message and then realises that he's just got no way of delivering it because he's about to drive his car off a bridge. Spoilers.
What a great song.
Spoilers for a
a song.
4-minute song.
That was released about 15 years ago.
In case you haven't listened.
I hope we get an email about that. Our first angry email from someone who has had Stan and the whole Eminem experience spoiled for them.
They just downloaded Curtain Call or something. They were really it's like my poor dad. Like, he doesn't really watch television. Doesn't sort of enjoy series or anything. Like, he'll watch it if it's on, but he mostly just likes watching the sport, watch the news. The one show that he's ever invested in was The Sopranos, and he fucking loved it. And I mean, as well he should. It is incredible.
Genius.
But 2 episodes before he finished the whole thing, James Gandolfini died, and someone gave away the ending on the radio.
Oh no. That's so sad. That's such a dick move from him on the radio and it's such a lazy bit of I'm not going to repeat it because maybe someone else hasn't heard the ending. But it's a stupid comparison to make, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To be like, oh well, he died in real life,
And
therefore
I know
nonsense.
It's just and especially given that it's one of the most iconic series finales ever.
Oh yeah.
To just
It's the perfect finale, I think. I don't think it's been... I haven't seen the end of Hannibal, and I hope it's not the end of Hannibal.
No.
But that's the only thing that could come close. Although the Better Call Saul finale that we watched the other day was genius.
Absolute
art. What an incredible show. Isn't it just like noticeably better than everything else that's on at the moment?
It really annoys me when I have people on my timeline on Facebook or on the Twitter feed being like, oh my God, it's such a shame they cancelled Sense8. And you're like, fucking get over yourself. Watch something
I haven't
decent.
seen Sense8, but I heard that all it was just a load of people. It was like the Game of Thrones style of sex position, where they just fuck instead of having any plot and hope for the best.
People keep watching, surely.
Yeah.
Well, they were talking on one of the television subreddits about the fact that in the first episode of Netflix new series Glow, have you seen that? The one that's about female wrestling. That in the first episode they have Alison Brie topless.
Alison Brie,
Is that her name?
who's that?
What's her name?
Oh, from Community.
Yeah, is that her name?
Yeah,
that is her name, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they have her topless and they have her having sex, and then like someone had posted a gif of it, and then the top comment was, "I've skimmed through the rest of the series for you all. Doesn't happen again."
Oh no.
And you're like, that's such a
horrid.
like lazy little, keep watching,
cynical,
guys.
isn't it?
Yeah. To go.
It's cynical, but it's also a shame that it's kind of effective, because the mere fact that people are like screen capping gifs of topless actors, it kind of shows there's a market for it.
Yeah.
So it's a shame on both counts. I've been reminded by the James Gandolfini talk, and also it ties in so well to this loose theme that we've emerged into,
that we've moved away from
death butterfly.
That we've moved away from expertly because it was depressing as all hell.
Well, no, look, here we're going back to it now. I'm going to pull us back on track. I think we should tell our listenership about one of the great contests of all time. I mean, some have said it rivaled even our contest last month, which I should just mention we'll be in contact with the winners, in a sense, in the next few weeks. We'll leave that there. Tell people about Declan, or set the scene for the celebrity death pool.
Why do you have to bring this up?
Why? Oh, of course, there's bitter memories for
do
you,
you have
but
to
we'll
bring
get to
this
that
up?
last.
Okay. Well, I mean, the celebrity death pool
start with the optimism.
is the best form of competition available. For those of you that don't know, it's quite a long running tradition. I think it used to be a sort of like a pub game that you'd have going on. Everyone chucks a pound into a hat and you have a list.
But it's since the advent of Facebook groups, it has been streamlined into an art form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, at the beginning of the year, you have to concoct a list of 10 celebrities that you believe will be dead by December 31st of that year.
And also, for more context, I think our involvement in this began because it was was it last year or the year before?
Yeah, it was
when
2016, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was basically when it started to become zeitgeist that everyone from the childhoods of people who are writing these articles is starting to die off, because that's how age works.
Yeah, and also, you had like David Bowie died, Alan Rickman died.
So there were definitely a few surprise deaths. Surprise is perhaps too positive a word. Surprise! Your icon's dead.
What's that?
No more Snape.
Your entire musical inspiration, someone whose very existence in the world was a comfort to you and those
Validated
like you.
your outsider status. Well, he's gone. It was sad.
Turns out he was just like everyone else in that he was mortal.
And that he lived before us in the time when you're never going to get to become a robot.
Yeah. Oh, imagine like if we did have
pre-robot
that technology now, you'd just be a fucking like cube. You wouldn't have your own voice either. You'd have like
That's like when you used
Cortana.
to say I'd have to be a toaster for a year or
That
something.
was
before I could be a
quite
robot.
good. I think that was how long was it? Was it for a year or was it for like 5 years?
I think it
or
might have
something?
been longer, yeah.
Yeah, I was challenging Isaac on his commitment to becoming some sort of robot in the future, and the challenge was: would you have your consciousness transferred into a toaster as a kind of placeholder while we get the actual
Because they're
technology
like,
ready?
yeah, it's a few years off, so we're going to have to just hold you for some reason in a toaster.
in like a sort of like holding bay,
Yeah.
and
I was unflappable.
you sort of I think that you had a lot of conditions which I refused to acquiesce to, which was that you could control the toaster when obviously you couldn't. It's
I
just
didn't like
it's
that
just
part.
your consciousness. You can't see either.
No, I didn't like that.
You're just
either.
inside it. I mean, the toaster was entirely chosen just because it's mundane, but it could have been any electrical
Can I feel
object.
what's going on? Like, can I feel the heat of the toast?
No,
Well, what is existing then if you've just
it's
got
just
no
you in a void.
input? Okay. I'm all right with that. That's basically how I live my life anyway. That's basically my dream weekend.
80% of Isaac's bedroom is taken up by a sensory deprivation flotation tank.
I'm so into going into one of these. Have you ever done one?
No.
Should we do one for the show? Oh my god, do you think we could record an episode from inside one? Although that would kind of
That defeats
counteract
the purpose. Then you're
deprivation.
just floating in the dark.
Then it's just us in a hot tub doing an episode.
But I'm up for it. If we
I'd love to do one.
Yeah, all right.
Because I've heard that it makes you really... There's an almost inescapable sense of panic that overcomes you.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm really keen to experience it. Have I sold you on it?
To remind you that you're alive.
Yeah, that's
In case
basically
you
the
forget.
threat.
Next time you have to chuck out an enormous rat.
I'm just going
book
to
us in.
do it in a blindfold.
Yeah.
But they sound really cool. I think the stages are, from what I've heard from other people's experiences, and I listened to Russell Brand's podcast had once a guest, because they did one, and then they had a guest on who was someone who worked at one, and they said that in their experience, the stages of sensory deprivation flotation chambers were panic, acceptance, boredom, sleep, masturbation, and then they get out. Apparently they have to change the water quite a lot.
Oh dear.
That's a shame, isn't it?
Well, make sure that we're booked in as like the first in the day.
Yeah, and separate tanks, I think. 'Cause, I mean, we're good friends, but there's a limit. I don't think we'd recover.
God, how sensorily deprived are you? Imagine if it was entire, but you could just hear faint splashing. You could just feel like your hand getting a little bit wet.
That's absolute crime. They should shut them down if it just becomes a big wank chamber. I was reading today about a thing. We'll come back to the death pool, I promise, but this is a tangent that I'm interested in. There's a festival in America, and look, I don't have many of the facts here because I was literally just reading about it. There's a music festival called Electric Forest,
Right.
and it sounds, based on the reports I've just read, like the most brilliant madness, because it sounds like you don't really go for the music.
Like
You just
most
skip
festivals.
most of it. Yeah, true. But I mean, I don't think they get very big acts even. But it is in a forest somewhere, and they just have like mad things set up all around, so you can go wandering and you find like a phone coming out of a tree that starts ringing as you go past, and then it's like a wood elf that tells you to go to like, you have to go through some mini door, and you end up in like a warehouse rave or something. It just sounds mad. And there was another bit where there was some building, and the way they spoke of it shrouded it in mystery and intrigue, because it was just known as the Hangar.
Oh dear.
And loads of people were like, I didn't get to spend much time in the Hangar last time, can't wait to do it this year. But it seems like it's just a fairly nondescript bar, or maybe like venue with a bar in it. And apparently some people were sat on a sofa there, and then the sofa just revolved, and they ended up like the other side of the wall, like some kind of Scooby-Doo villain had set them up. And they were in something called a poetry brothel, which is such a questionable concept. But I think the idea was that it's everyone in it acts like it's a brothel. So they have like models set up who like lead you into a booth. And I think the people who I was reading the report from were a couple.
Right.
And so they were there together, which kind of takes away the cheating aspect of being in a poetry brothel. But then they lead you into a room like with a bed in it, like you're about to, get with a prostitute. And then just start. Isn't that the expression?
That's the like most embarrassed term I think I've ever heard you use.
Well, I couldn't think of what the proper term was. Fuck a whore.
Yeah. I think you're supposed to say whore.
A whore. No, I'll rescind that. I'll retract it. But then you lie down on the bed, and I think they just read you poems for an hour, and then leave. Like that's
And
it.
then you fuck.
And then then that's the poetry bit out of the way. Then the brothel element really comes to the fore. It's the 1-2 punch of art and sex.
Imagine if they'd set it up so that when they took you into the room, you sort of got to choose. You're like, would you like poetry or would you like to fuck? no, all the poems went devastatingly
just
unread.
lying, yeah, clean and unsullied, untouched by human hand, slightly covered
out of the sleeve,
the effluvia covered sleeve. But anyway, yeah, I like that sort of thing. It sounds like one big escape room. Why did I start talking about the electric forest? How did that come into?
I don't know. So
okay, well, let's segue
you went to
back.
it from flotation tank.
Oh yeah, because it's that kind of weird experience. Anyway, we're going to do that. I'm going to put it on our list now. Let me make a note.
Okay.
Flotation tank. That was the sound of me making a note there, guys. That wasn't acting. We'll do that and we'll get back to you. Let's say by episode 30. That's actually quite soon, isn't it? That's quite a short term.
That's in
commitment.
like 4 weeks.
A few months or something. Okay. All right, maybe episode 35. Give us some leeway. So the celebrity death pool we were invited by our friend Kieran.
Mm-hmm.
My favourite thing about it, because it still exists, although I didn't participate in the most recent one for reasons that will become clear at the end, is that on Facebook groups you can set a relevant icon. So like one of the podcast groups I'm in has like the music symbol. There's another one that's called Podcast Growth that has a light bulb because it's all about ideas. The celebrity death pool just has a horrible skull, which is so good. And it's also, the name is all in caps as well, which is quite horrid. And so the rules were, I think we threw in a $5, did we?
Well, nobody threw in anything.
Yeah, the idea was that you commit
a tenner,
$5.
I think.
Okay, yeah, maybe it was a tenner. Oh yeah, it was. You commit a tenner or something like that, and then pick your celebrities. And I think it was the first person to have 2 that died.
It's 3.
Okay, was the winner. Do you remember who was on your list?
No, I can't. I can remember that. I remember some of it. I remember that Muhammad Ali died. That was one for me. Harper Lee died.
Oh yeah,
and that was one for me. And then I won it with Nancy Reagan.
And that was your winner.
And that was my winner. That was it.
There you go. So we had about 20 people in it, maybe at the time.
Maybe
more.
Yeah, I think there were 30 people taking part.
Yeah. And so everyone had thrown in a tenner. I mean, metaphorically at this point, quite quickly it was revealed that Declan had won. Because
I won by about May.
Yeah, I played my list. I didn't really play to win. I played to ensure against my own suicide by making it a list almost exclusively of people I really love. So I had like Stephen Sondheim, Ian McKellen, people who, if they died, the only possible way that I wasn't going to ooze myself into the next life, which is a term which means throwing yourself into the river in York, that we won't ever explain further.
Not just fluiding yourself, sliming yourself into the next life.
Was by receiving enough money that I could just drink myself into the next week and through the sorrow. So I don't think anyone on my list died, but Declan won really quickly. And so it became time to send the money. It's been, a year, maybe a year and a half now since we did that. How much did you get from it? How many people sent you?
You were the only fucker who paid up.
That's bad, isn't it?
Not even Kieran, who set it up and is like one of my best friends. Not even he's paid yet.
Oh dear.
I know.
Have you pulled him up on that? Because you must have seen him
Yeah,
since.
I have a couple of times.
What's his excuse, the Geordie skint?
Well, I mean, I think that you've explained it enough there,
he's got
Geordie and Skint.
Oh.
But yeah, it was so pathetic. People like were trying to say that I hadn't actually won, that you had to
Why?
get all of them or you had to get 5.
Lies.
It was in the rules on the
The rules
side.
are literally pinned to the top of the group.
Yeah, and they were all just clearly so butthurt that they hadn't won. Like, because people take it as a real matter of pride.
Oh yeah, some people took it too seriously.
Their ability to be that prophetic about death.
Yeah. And Kieran's friends on Facebook especially are a group of insufferables.
They're a mixed,
not all of them.
They're
but
a mixed bunch,
but
aren't
it's,
they? They range from...
I would say it skews insufferable.
Yeah, they range from some really funny, enjoyable, lovely people to
Jeff who I will name because the man is a fucking dreadful idiot and I hate him. And I hate everything he stands for.
He is, I think, the worst personality on Facebook.
He's the person who, if I see a comment, I have to like look away and breathe before I read it.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's going to affect my blood pressure to such an extent that someone as afraid of their own circulation as me can't really cope with it. Has to go and lie down for the next 6 hours. He is a dreadful idiot. I mean, what more is there to say? I just hate him.
There's nothing.
We could try and explain why, but it's just...
I think we should
think
probably-
of every possible way, and he's that.
Think of every perspective or opinion you could have on any topic, and then imagine the most offensively incorrect one.
Yes,
That's
him.
how he feels about it.
He's from that kind of, I don't know, proto-libertarian alt-right school
Yeah.
where he wants to be able to rip foxes apart as long as it's on your own land because of property rights. He wants to...
Where like racial segregation's fine because you're allowed to say you don't
choice.
want anyone on your land.
Yeah.
Or anyone near you.
What else? He's probably, I mean, I can't remember him specifically advancing this view, but I imagine his outlook on the age of consent is questionable at best. And I'm not saying that he has personally engaged in an illicit act. All I'm saying is that he wants to.
All I'm saying is that when it's eventually and inevitably revealed that he has,
None of us will be surprised.
No. We should probably just do an episode where we read some of his comments.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to edit out his surname.
Okay. All right.
Just for our own legal protection.
All right. Sounds good. Jeff
too bad it's
Surnameless.
You're a shame. And I think even it goes beyond shame as a concept.
Oh,
'cause
God.
we use shame on this show. Oh, this is something I wanted to mention as well. We use shame in quite a variable sense. Sometimes it's quite light-hearted, like some Facebook comment is a shame, or true crime genre is a shame. Sometimes it's quite egregious, like killing the poor is a shame. But one thing I did want to change about, I think it was episode 8, which is the second of our chronically underlooked episodes. So none of you will have heard. And in fact, I probably don't even need to correct the record on this because no one knew it in the first
There's
place.
no chance that anyone will ever have listened to it or ever will listen to it.
They just skip it. It's Shame City is the episode. And in it, we conceptualized, because it's when we announced that our website was going to be shame.city, which it still pleases me as a website every time I think of it, because it's just funny. Whenever I see it written down, it's just funnier than being like, that's a shame podcast.biz or something. But we conceptualized Shame City as a mythical place at the time, as a bastion of shame within which shame ran rampant and kind of was the leader of the place. Like we had Lin-Manuel performing every night. We had all kinds of horrid things. And I think I'd like to invert it and make it the last safe place against all the shame of the outside world.
Right.
Because I think we should think of ourselves as dwelling within Shame City and fortifying our walls against the shame of the outside.
And we don't want to lump ourselves in with Lin-Manuel.
Well, not in any sense, no. I watched a video yesterday. I don't know why I do it to myself, really. It's a very kind of masochistic urge.
Yeah.
But I watched a video of him freestyling, and I did such heavy inverted commas that I've actually broken both of my fingers in doing so. Freestyling again in that way that, I don't know, it's kind of like
That
those
singular beat and meter that he knows.
Yeah, and it's those videos you see about, like, in our podcast groups where it's like 5 things that you might want to avoid to not turn off your listenership, which often is vocal fry, which people should just get the fuck over.
Yep.
And crutch words like, which I do, and kind of, which I do as well. And also don't care about in the slightest. So just leave that. But Lin-Manuel's rap is one big crutch word when he's freestyling.
Yeah.
It's just like 80% looking around and just naming things he can see before rhyming something. But he was Emma Watson was beatboxing, who I like, but she's certainly quite, I don't know, I find her quite an awkward presence to watch.
Very.
She's one of those people who seems like incredibly self-conscious of her own existence.
Yeah, like forever looking around, forever
To check that other people are in on the joke.
Yeah, to make sure that she's being accepted.
It was like there was a girl in Drama Sock at York, who we won't name, who she was nice. She was like nice enough and like talented enough, but she just had this quality about her that made me so uncomfortable to watch, because it was like you had to just check that everything was landing.
She was
and
so
there's no way of feeling more.
No, she was so obviously, like, whilst in character, aware of her own role as an actor and her own presence in front of an audience. Like,
it just made me feel really uncomfortable.
All of the sort of advice about sort of public speaking, where it's, try and make eye contact with everyone in the audience, try and make sure you have the eye contact that she would make was that wry smile, sort of eye contact, which is like, "Oh, here I am on the stage again,
doing an acting."
You're like,
classic.
This is a scene where you're being told your child is dead. I'm like, God, here we are.
Good old me with the dead son.
You won't believe all the stuff happened in rehearsals for this one. Oh.
Yeah. I think it's Emma Watson's voice that it sounds like, as I have said a lot of times, but not on the podcast, Emma Watson to me sounds like she's doing an impression of herself.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's so, there's something so forced about her delivery. It's weird. And also the new Beauty and the Beast film wasn't that good, I'm afraid. Why ever would you remake such a perfect bit of cinema?
That's right, to keep the copyright.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Good old Disney, pummeling through there. But yeah, Shame City, I think, should be free from all those places. It should be where we just sit around watching Better Call Saul and Hannibal, listening to Sondheim, thinking about Norman Finkelstein, shouting at everyone about his late father.
What an absolute legend. Telling everyone who's wrong that he equates their opinions with the dust on the floor.
What a thing to say. What a bold statement from old Norm, Professor Norm. We should get him on the show. I'm certain he would turn us down. I think he could not be less interested than in tolerating a pair of idiots who want to talk about flotation chambers.
Maybe if we pop a little Palestinian flag on the dog's hat in the logo.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He'll
be on board.
Round.
I mean, he can't teach anywhere. He can't get a lesson in the US because he's been blacklisted, so you might give it a shot.
Have you seen
Norman, if you're listening?
Have you seen his website?
Oh, it's mad.
It's a real shame.
It's utter madness. But I don't know if it's him that writes all these blog posts, because they're all up under different people's names.
Yeah, I know. But what worries me is that it's 90% all caps.
Yes. Which doesn't seem like a hallmark of such a fastidious academic.
Yeah, such a forensically skilled professor of history. Poor Blake.
It is a little bit of a concern. Look, I think we should move on to Hooked, but just to wrap up the theme, I don't think I'm going to put this out there, I want to get your opinion. I don't think we've necessarily solved mortality as a concept.
No, I don't think we've dived into it as thoroughly as some philosophers of the last few centuries have.
No, even me. Whenever I've had an opportunity to write about like extended essay or the sort of dissertation I had to do at uni, it's always about death. Yep. And it's always like, I always just look at the same question, like, would it be better to live forever than die? And I've always concluded it's better to die, but I've never ever believed it.
It's one of those opinions where you know that it's probably right, but you just will never ever have the opportunity to think, I think that right now I'd rather die than live more.
I think it's difficult to reconcile. I guess in some way we'll live forever now through That's a Shame. Because this will be around after we've died. As long as I set up in my will someone has to pay for the hosting forever, then I think that's something, isn't it? Maybe when we're like 80, we can listen back and be like, oh, they didn't know how good they had it. which I guess will be depressing.
I thought that was going to be like an optimistic time. That you're going to, when we're 80, we'll look back and we'll think, oh, we were so pessimistic about ageing, but really it's been a magical process.
But actually, it's even worse than we imagined. What's that? Your knees don't work. And every day you think about suicide. Good.
Turns out that you can actually feel the DNA breaking inside you.
You can feel all the mutations that are eventually going to consume the healthy elements of your body.
All the telomeres just
Horrible.
literally falling off there.
Bye, guys. Free radicals on your way. And that's death.
Isaac staring mournfully at the toaster in the corner.
Just trying to climb in.
Any day now, he's going to have to make a disastrous
The ultimate choice. Oh, well. How bad can it be?
By that point, so senile that he mistakes the transition process for just sticking a knife in it while it's on.
Hastening his demise into electrocution.
Imagine like finding an old man like dead by having electrocuted himself in his own toaster, and then having to explain to their friends and family that he was trying to insert his consciousness into it while he waited for artificial intelligence and the uploading of consciousness to robots.
One hell of a eulogy. And an epitaph that writes itself.
Look, Isaac had dreams. The trouble was he hadn't researched them as thoroughly
He
as
had
he
no
might.
execution. You can't fault him on thought, but you can't fault him enough on operation itself.
10 out of 10 for vision. A generous 4 for materialisation.
Bless. I think this is a topic we'll come back to next time I see a rat
Yep.
on the floor. I've definitely got more to talk about because we've touched on how afraid I am of the heart as a concept.
I know. I was wondering if we were going to bring up the.
No, I think that's another
circulatory
show for
system.
another day.
Yeah, I think it's
Maybe a
probably,
Valentine's Day special.
I think it's probably best that we break
wanna-
this down over the course of a few episodes, sporadically released in between perhaps less fatal topics.
Yeah. I don't want to cry in every episode, so
No.
we'll keep a little buffer between it. We promised in episode 17, one of the few promises that we've actually taken through and carried on to the next episode, that we would conclude Hooked in episode 18, which is now, as you'll know. To recap where we were, I'd run out of hoots for the first time ever, which meant I had no further story elements to examine. But we were roughly around the time of the fantastic reveal from Mum, where she says, your father was making a mistake. Tiffany pulls up about the past tense, and then Tiffany notices another text. Should we go from... let's go from where you explain the text that was written to Tiffany, and for some reason never sent.
Okay. OMG. There's another text he wrote to me that was never sent. Nice bit of exposition.
Yeah, thanks for just clarifying, because otherwise you'd never have read it.
It says he's sorry he can't keep the family together.
Oh.
That he thinks something is wrong with you. He wanted to meet ASAP to explain.
I think Tiffany would say ASAP.
Well, I was thinking that, but where it's all capitalised.
I don't know.
Remember as well that this isn't speech. She's texting this.
Oh, yeah.
Supposedly, in one hand, holding a baby in the other, and holding a phone,
baby, a
holding a phone
phone.
in the third. He didn't want me to go home today. He said you might be dangerous.
Ha! Dangerous. He cheats on me and then he has the nerve to call me names.
Call me names.
Call me names is so sweet.
Yeah.
It's like a little primary school kid. He really was an idiot. Was.
I love this, like, bullshit, family-friendly, insulting language. Like,
Yeah.
the man's cheated on you, had a child with another woman.
To the point you've clearly murdered him.
and you're the worst you could do is idiot.
God, he was an idiot. Had to murder him.
Where's Dad, Mum? What did you do to him?
I really tried to keep you out of this, Tiffany. But I guess it's too late.
Where's Dad?
Dad's in the basement.
Dun, dun, dun.
So
That basement that Tiffany went in and he wasn't there.
But she did notice that it smelt like something had expired.
Yeah.
I told you not to go down there, didn't I? God, he was such an idiot, she repeats.
Really hammering this home.
This is Mum's monologue. An affair. Can you believe that? After all I did for him, I couldn't let him get away with it. I killed him just as he was writing you that text.
Thanks for clearing that up, Mum.
Yeah. I guess he didn't die right away. If he still had time to slip his phone into those blankets. Yeah. Must have been when I was washing the blood off my knife. Your dad's blood, that is. But he deserved it, honey. He made a fool of me, a mockery of our marriage. Now let's throw the phone and the baby into the lake together. That's like Mum's tried to cushion the blow. Come on, Tiffany, let's throw the phone and the baby. What's that?
Throwing the
phone and the...
Throwing the baby out with the bloody phone.
Then we'll both go back and get rid of Dad's body.
I love that
Tiffany?
Mum's assumed that Tiffany's just going to be on board.
Yeah, because when she's like, Tiffany, ? It's like, Tiffany, come on. I mean, I've given you an offer.
Mum's next line is
honey.
so funny.
Oh, honey, I can see you in that bush. You can't hide from Mummy. 3 days later.
Wow. Hi, Dad. I feel a little crazy doing this, knowing you can't answer me. But I want to respond to your text, the one you were never able to send. I'm so sorry about what happened to you. I'm so sorry about what Mum did. I wish I could have somehow saved you. I don't know how I'm going to go on without you guys.
Can I just stop you here briefly to say...
Of course.
So, there's no more Mum in this story. I've skipped to the end.
Clearly not.
Can I just forewarn you that this is building up to the greatest closing line in literature? It's one of those lines that, like at the end of Seven, he talks about in that recent Lessons from the Screenplay.
Yeah.
How the point is that Morgan Freeman's character and Brad Pitt's character have like different approaches to justice, and Morgan Freeman's all like cynical and he's burnt out and he wants to leave, he's about to retire and like drop off the grid. And it takes the full action of the film and seeing Brad Pitt's character played by Kevin Spacey, spoilers, and the ultimate like breakdown of that guy's life for his final line to be the guy's like, where are you going to be? And he's like, I'll be around. And just that simple phrasing expresses the theme's conclusion. I'm not saying this is better than that, but it's certainly changed my outlook on just the potential that literature has as an art form.
So we mocked them mercilessly for their conflation of the Hooked app with epistolary literature in general. Yeah. Are we going to have to go back and edit that out?
I think we've never been quite as far off the mark as we were then.
Okay.
Because this is the new Nabokov, simple as.
I am so excited.
I'm going to just do sound effects because I'm an attention seeker.
That sounds good. Yeah. Couldn't dare let me have the limelight.
Nope.
Right. I wish I could somehow have saved you. I don't know how I'm going to go on without you guys. But Dad, I'm so disappointed you had an affair.
Disappointed is a nice word.
Even if you no longer loved Mum, it wasn't right. Anyway, it's too late for regrets.
Just brush that to one side.
I just got back from Mum's funeral. I didn't want to go, but I can't get the images from that night out of my head. Jessica shot Mum in cold blood, then turned the gun on herself. Everything happened so fast. Jessica she really loved you, Dad.
Oh.
She wasn't looking for her baby that night. She had no intention of living after you were gone.
Ooh, selfish.
She just wanted to take Mum in with her in revenge. The baby, your daughter, she's doing well. I'm never going to tell her about any of this. I don't want you to worry about her. She's my sister.
Mistake or not?
I'm going to take care of her.
And the final line. As the curtains close on our time with Tiffany, Mum, Jessica, Dad and baby.
I've named her Sweetheart.
Sweetheart. The end.
Kayla Parent, wherever you are in this world, I'm going to find you. I'm going to
I'm
find
going to
you,
name you Sweetheart.
and I'm going to make it the sole function of my life to ensure that you are never allowed access to language ever again. Because this is the great shame. The podcast is over. There's no, we're not, we can't do it. Not even Jeff, not even
Edit his name again.
the embodiment of shame that is Jeff could transcend the shame that is this heap of horse shit.
I mean,
What-
the journey for me has been quite exquisite though, because we've, if nothing else, and I mean for all its flaws, that everyone's a critic these days. But what parent manages to achieve with whatever this story was called? What was it called?
Where is she?
Where is she? Is a great a sense of an unfolding of narrative, and we started with such a simple glimpse into the life of she's your ordinary teen Tiffany, and it seems like everything's going fine, and then before you know it, all it takes is one random baby, a mistake, if you will, in the basement, for everything to just spiral beyond our wildest dreams. And the fact, I think, that she pulls it back full circle by naming the baby Sweetheart after a bit of information she dropped about 20 lines earlier, really creates a Steinbeckian sense of circularity that I just get off on immensely.
Yeah, I mean, how different is this ending really from the end of Mice and Men? That
Oh, it's not.
finally coming to term. Well, I mean, it is.
It's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steinbeck.
Steinbeck didn't name anyone Sweetheart.
No, there were no babies at the end.
They were just living off the fat of the land, as I recall.
Yeah. They had rabbits.
Yeah.
Oh my god! So
happened?
I made an account because
On Hooked.
because there are nearly 5,000 comments on this story, and I needed to see what they were.
Oh, wow. I didn't know there were comments.
The first comment from Ariana Rose is, "Good story, just hope it wasn't true."
Oh, bless. That's the sweetest thing I've ever heard.
Pandora says,
I hope it wasn't true.
"Wow, so sad, but interesting."
She's really conflicted there. It's like Nightcrawler.
Valentina says, "This story is so great. It really got me into wanting to keep reading and made me think and predict." Thumbs up.
It made her predict.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing for literature to do. It turns you into a Nostradamus. That's good, though. I mean, fair play, Kayla. You've got someone into reading. Like, that's...
Well, let's not generously call this reading.
Look,
It's
a
reading.
start.
It's reading in the most functional sense.
Yeah, but it might be the gateway to a lifelong love of not very good writing.
Kayla has very much missed the very idea of literature. She's I think not read Roland Barthes' Death of the Author.
Okay.
She says, "Oh, but what happened to the girls? Where are they now?"
Right. What, Kayla says that?
Yeah.
As in the author?
No. Sorry,
Oh,
I
right,
just
I was
realised
gonna
that's...
say.
No, someone else in the comment fortuitously named Kayla.
Oh, right. I see. Well, what happened is she just stopped writing about them.
That was...
so they
that
don't
was
exist.
And that was the end.
So, look, all that remains, I think, it's been incredible, but we're not going to end Hooked here by any means.
Definitely
Because
not.
there is a wealth, an absolute treasure trove of stories. All that remains is for us to pick one. Do you think that's a decision we should make, or should we maybe put the call out on Twitter for some
Oh,
feedback?
we could do a little poll, couldn't we? We could...
Yeah.
We could
maybe if we pick
3 titles.
2 each.
Oh, okay, 4 titles.
Okay, one each, and then we choose one together.
Okay.
I've already found which one I will be picking. It's called The Clowns-Official. They're on a mission, and they have no mercy.
Oh, hang on a minute. Iataza wasn't quite as impressed as everyone else in the comments. This story, ... New comment, sucked big time.
Oh,
New comment, lame and retarded.
oh no. Doubly offensive there. 2 doses of ableist language.
Yeah, I was about to
say. Wow, what a critic. Look, I think...
Sorry. We'll end with James's comment.
Mm-hmm.
It bugs me that the baby will never know.
You know what, James? It bugs me too. Sweetheart deserves the truth.
Well,
I will devote my life to ensuring that she finds
maybe
out.
there'll be an episode 4. You know, this story has 50,000 likes
And like 5.2 million views or something.
Yeah,
mental.
so you know.
I mean, yeah. Let's find her and get in touch about part 4.
Yeah,
I need closure.
in the words of
More
Shani.
closure.
No words, scary as fuck.
No words proceeds to have 3 more.
Yep.
It's clever. I like it. So thank you to Kayla. Thank you to Hooked. We'll be continuing that. Look at Twitter for that. We'll be putting out a poll as to which story to continue with in episode 19. I've had a delightful time. I feel oddly better about inevitable death. Yeah, I think it's been cathartic in some small way. How about you?
I was fundamentally depressed for the first 20 minutes of the episode. I was struggling to see how we were going to really pull it back round to comedy when you mentioned the fact that each new day is a genuine, heartfelt success for you.
That's an optimistic message. It can go both ways. And I think if we look for each day as a gift rather than as just one more step along the road to death, then, you know, we could all be... Maybe one day we'll be writing epistolary fiction for Hooked. The path really is limitless.
That's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah. This has been episode 18. Thank you very much for listening. Let's do some plugs before we get out of here.
Okay, so you can get in touch with us on Twitter at That's a Shamecast. In a day or so, there'll be the poll up for you to vote on our next Hooked venture. You can also contact me personally on there at Cynical Declan and Isaac at IsaacBD.
True fact.
If you want to email us, TAS at shame.city. Alternatively, you can just message us via our website, shame.city.
Oh yeah, we have a nice contact form.
Yeah, the website
Make the most.
is growing, and we've got plans for it to grow even further.
Oh yeah, we're going to have some written stuff on there soon.
Exactly.
Where we
Imagine
can
that.
finally formalise our thoughts on topics like true crime.
Death.
Yeah. rat murder and disposal. But yeah, I think that's about all. The last thing, of course, our most spurious and vague plug / call to action is just tell a friend about the show, spread the word, tweet about it if you like, hashtag That's a Shame or hashtag Shame City, whatever. I haven't made one up yet. Pass it on to whichever of your friends you think needs to hear the most about death, or even just about Hooked. I think it can lighten even the darkest of attics or basements full of dead dads. This has been episode 18. I've been Isaac. You've been
Declan.
And we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye, pals.
Bye.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. The bare necessities, the bare necessities, the bare necessities of life will come to you.